Welcome to how to add paper and paint textures to your Procreate watercolors. My name is Eris Klein, and I am going to give you a little tutorial on this. This tutorial is mainly for those who have purchased my watercolor set that is available on Etsy, but if you did not purchase it, hey, you're going to learn a little something too. So this paper, there's two things. There's the paper and there's the watercolor texture. They come with the set. And they are 11 by 17, 300 ppi, large, high quality paper and texture that you can apply to your watercolor paintings. So right here, you can see an example of it. Here's the textured paper, and it also goes over all the image. And then if you look here, there's like some watercolor inconsistencies in the paint, and that is actually from the watercolor texture. They're two different things, paper and watercolor texture. Let's take a look at them. So I'm going to take off the watercolor texture, and now you don't see those inconsistencies there. And then here, if I take the paper off, now that's what you would normally see while you're painting. And I went ahead and made this background really smooth just so you could really see the effect. A lot of my brushes actually have a very watery watercolor texture to it already, so you may not even need the watercolor texture. But this gives you lots of options, and you could have just the paper if you just already really like what you painted and you don't want any extra effects but paper. Or you could go ahead and add a little bit of the texture. And you don't have to leave the texture where it is. You could move it around a little bit, but you have to be careful. At one point, you'll start to see the edges of it. But I'll leave that up to you. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at how you apply these two files that are provided with my watercolor set. All right, so let's go ahead, and once you've downloaded the two files, the WC paper and WC water texture, WC stands for watercolor, you should be able to find them on your iPad. So we'll go ahead, I'm going to add an extra layer here by clicking the plus, and I'll go ahead and get the first item. So make a layer for it first, and then you're going to go over to the little wrench icon, which is your actions menu, and we're going to look for add. There it is, there's add. And you are going to either insert a photo or insert a file. It just depends on where those two files, when you downloaded them, where they ended up. The file would be like in your download folder, and photo will be in your photo gallery. Well, I know that mine went to my photo gallery, so I'll go ahead and open up Insert Photo. And then I will look for it, and there the two files are. So I'll go ahead and pick the first one, which I know is the watercolor texture, as you can see, that I specially prepared so that it will work with your artwork. It took a little tweaking, but I got it. Okay, so once you open it, you're going to have this little activated lines, little dashed lines moving around it. That's called a marquee. It means it's activated, and you can resize it at that moment by going to one of the little blue nodules on any of the four corners. And as long as your paper is 11 by 17 approximately or smaller, you can resize this without losing quality. And then while it's here, you might want to go ahead and position it to wherever you like the texture most. Let's see, maybe I kind of like those little splatters right there, so I'm going to position it like that. And then once it's done, you like it, go ahead and hit the little arrow, that's a move tool, and deactivate it. And now you have placed the watercolor texture into your file. And so then next, I'm going to go ahead and get watercolor paper. So I'll add another layer, and I will go back to the little wrench, go back to add, and now mine's in photo. Yours might be in file or photo. You can, open those up and look around and see which one it's in. I'm going to go to photo, and there's my watercolor paper. So I'll click that one. It's importing. Now, once again, there's those little dashed lines and the little blue dots on the corners. That means at this moment I can resize it so it fills the space. Okay, all right, so there we go. Now I like it. I'm going to click off the little blue arrow. It's set, and I now have two new layers. I have watercolor paper, and I have the watercolor texture. So just to be clear, I think I will go ahead and name these two layers so that we don't get confused what they are. Okay, so there we go. I've got that labeled as paper and this one labeled as texture. Now here's the important part. Your artwork should be on the bottom. All artwork's on the bottom. Then comes texture layer, and then comes paper. Paper will be on the top. You need to have that specific order for your artwork for this to work. If you don't, it will not work. Now I'm going to change the blending mode of the paper and the texture. So let's start with the texture first. The blending mode for the texture, I'll hit the little N. N stands for normal blending mode, and then when I click it, it opens up all these different blending modes. And for that one, we want color burn. So look for color burn, there it is. And then I've got color burn, and you already see that beautiful watercolor texture that's happening in there? So I've got that. Now, if you think that it's too much, you want just a little, you can always use this slider up here for the opacity and slide it back and forth until you have just the right amount of texture that you like. Okay, and then next I'm going to do the paper. So I highlight the paper, I go to the little N for normal blending mode, and it opens up, and that one I want to set to multiply. And now I look, and the N for normal has turned to M for multiply. Awesome. So now I can close that, and I can see the paper texture. So now that's all you have to do. Just remember to keep the same order, artwork on the bottom, then texture, then paper on top, and then change the blending modes. The texture is color burn, the paper is multiply. And that's it. It's that simple. Congratulations for learning how to use my Procreate brush sets. And hit subscribe to learn about new and upcoming brush sets and fun tutorials for Procreate and Adobe Fresco.